Welcome back to the College Gridiron Showcase presented by the Brawl Network here in Fort Worth, Texas. First of all, we had a little technical difficulties, so if you can go ahead, if you're watching us live, please make sure you go ahead and hit retweet, share, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you got to do to help get this information out to your followers and to everyone looking for the best from a bunch of amazing NFL hopefuls. So I'm joined by Brawl Network analyst, host of the Players Brawl and the Vikings Brawl, Aaron Henderson. So
hey, sorry I broke the camera before I even got on.
Yeah, I mean, his takes are so hot they melted the camera from behind. Also joined by co-host of the Players Brawl and producer and co-host and the Vikings Brawl, Anne-Marie Castillo.
Hi, happy to be here. So exciting.
Let's start here. Tell us a little bit about your pre-draft process when you entered the league.
My pre-draft process was an interesting one. I got an invite to the combine to have a chance to go out there and compete with some of the guys coming off an injury, kind of nursing that back and trying to get right and get healthy. So it's definitely fun going to interviewing with the teams, talking to the teams, watching them poke and prod you a little bit can be a little tough, a little bit cattle feel. But going through the process and having the opportunity to talk to some of those, the big time, the big leagues and organizations, and to be able to impress them and give them and let them see who you are and what you are. It was an interesting time, tough time, stressful, can weigh on you a little bit, but exciting at the same time too. You try to enjoy it as much as possible.
And I think a lot of people just assume throughout that process that players are, poked, prodded, treated a little bit like cattle, but that they're also cared for like cattle. But I think what I've learned over the years doing this, that you're a lot more on your own and a lot more trying to figure out a lot of stuff unless you've got, a real system behind you. Most of these guys are, I think I'm doing the right thing. I think I'm doing the right training. I think I'm doing the right work for the, the interviews and stuff. But other than that, they are just hoping like the rest of us. And the more shots you get, whether it's Combine Invite, Senior Bowl, CGS, whatever you got, the more chances you have to make an impression on NFL teams. So tell us a little about those impression-making moments where scouts told you, hey, I really liked when you did this, or you had a good answer in the interview session, those things that maybe are behind the scenes that the average viewer might not know about.
I think one of the biggest things, kind of talking to Avery earlier, is just making sure that you're popping on film. Like people are seeing you and they're watching you as you're making plays, you're making things happen now. And so when you come into those meeting rooms, now they kind of remember you already. It's kind of like, oh, I remember you ran in, you made this play, you did this with that. But it's because you flashed, because you paid, there was something that caught their eye, caught their attention. So when you step out there on the field, they call them splash plays. You want to show up as much as you possibly can. Those are the things that kind of stick with the teams and with the organizations as they move forward and make their decision processes. And a lot of it also is who you are and what you are. So they want to talk to you about, where you come from, what your family background is like, what you studied when you were in college, and if you actually graduated, all those things, all the ins and outs. They're making a huge investment into you as they move forward. And I think it's they got to do their due diligence, and they definitely do.
You said the first 10 to 15 plays. That's how you.
If you're supposed to be the guy, you're supposed to be one of the ones that we're here to watch and here to see. Those first 10 to 15 plays, we should be able to see something on tape without somebody having to say, "Watch number 1 out there for the University of Maryland." You should know that by time, that guy's kind of good. You know what I mean? So that's what you kind of want to do. That's how you kind of want to get it going and get it started early. And then now I'm gonna keep watching. Well, let me see what else he does. Let me see if he keeps playing like this. Let me see if he keeps showing up like this. So always got to get their attention first.
So CGS has a slightly different format than Senior Bowl or any of the other bowls out there. I pejoratively called them fake football earlier, but it's fun to watch for sure. In this OTA format, what are some ways that maybe they didn't have quite as many splash plays as they would have liked back at their universities, back in their colleges, but what are some ways they can put a splash play on the tape in the next couple of days?
It's a lot of competition. There are opportunities to compete. And anytime you get an opportunity to compete, you got to make the most of it. I think competition breeds success. And when teams see that you're willing to go out there and compete, especially if you are a small school guy or you didn't have an opportunity to play against some of the top competition, So now I'm lined up across from you right here, right now. Yeah, we don't have pads on. It's not the whole shebang, but you get a taste of it. You get a feel for it. And when you're doing the drills, you get a chance to see if the guy can move, if his hips are good, if he's fluid, if he can bend, if he's stiff, all those different things that you can still show without having the pads, without the physical aspect of it. When you think about the NFL, that first transition into it is like that. There's no pads when you get to OTAs. There's no pads when you get to minicamp. So you get a chance to show and prove here, and then you get the chance to go and prove it once more, to go prove it again once you get to those camps and you have those opportunities. But as a coach and a scout, you're looking for somebody who wants to go compete, and you're looking to see how they're moving while they're doing it.
It's awesome. Well, and Aaron, what I wanted to ask you, I know I work directly with you all the time, but when I thought about Players Brawl, our podcast, Shadi, I thought about this. CGS is Aaron and Jamarca, the other co-host, kind of like have a CGS for all these young players. They talk about trials. They're kind of like giving a seminar. So I was going to tell these players that, first of all, they should listen to the podcast because it's awesome. But you guys, you guys didn't have a CGS when you were I think this is a great platform. Wouldn't you agree? I feel like this is what you're doing for players through your podcast right now.
I think it's a great opportunity for players to open up doors that may not have been open. As I sit here and look at the list, there's names that I never would have heard of and never would have had the opportunity to see or to even evaluate to see if they have the opportunity to go play at the next level. But with our podcast show, it's a great opportunity for people to come share their stories, and it's a platform for us to inspire others and try to let them know that it can be done, no matter the road that you have to travel or what it looks like or how tough it may be. So coming here to have an opportunity to come to CGS, you make the most of it. You make it with everything that you possibly can, because you never know when opportunity is going to come again to go out there and show. So I think that with the podcast, we're just trying to encourage go do it. You know what I mean? Not just in sports, but in just all walks of life. It can be done. Close it every time, but if you can see it, you can be it. And I honestly believe that. So we're just trying to help the people to see success stories through all the trials and tribulations.
And I think one of the things I love about CGS, and it's one of the big reasons why the Brawl Network stepped in and wanted to be the presenting sponsor, is because these guys are not Heisman Trophy finalists. They're not, Devontae Smith's going to the Senior Bowl. It's not that caliber of player. It's a lot of guys who are really hoping that doing really well this week is their jump from a UDFA to the 7th round, or jump from the UDFA to the 5th round. Right. And you've had some really good players drafted out of here, but it's often those stories where it's like these guys are fighting really hard and don't want to give up their dream. And there's actually, what we haven't talked about yet, there's actually a free agent showcase prior to the event where 200 guys came in that have, had their cup of coffee in the NFL already, or have played in the XFL or the AAF. I'm surprised, you weren't up there shoving around.
I know you've been there. You've been there.
My body's set up,
Yeah.
But it's that mentality that says, if I can just take this shot, if I can just crush this week, if I can crush this one drill, it can be the difference between these teams not knowing my name and deciding they want me on the roster. So let's transition into give us some players that you're excited to see this week.
Yeah, so Aaron and I were going over this, and like you said, Aaron, unknown players that you haven't heard of, right? So he was even looking at these, and so I thought was interesting, maybe you could share, is like, what do you look for when you see these stats? Like, why did these players stand out to you? And I found this very interesting because you're a player. So you can give us that perspective.
One of the things that you kind of touched on is the story, the background, like how they got to where they are right now, what happened, what led to it, whether it's academic thing or injury thing, whatever the case may be. I coach at the NAIA level, and so I watch different people come from community colleges. I watch coming from high school who just wanted an opportunity to go play. And so when you see these stories, you see kids who left from this school and went to that school, and it's automatically kind of assume maybe they got in trouble, they had this issue, they had that issue. Sometimes it's family things. You never really know what it is, but people keep taking chances on them because they can play, because they are talented, and they do want them to have an opportunity. They do want to see what they can do. And I think there's a couple of kids that stuck out to me in here because of that, because of their stories, and I think their potential and their upside there.
You mentioned the wide receiver, Khalil McLean, who went from JUCO to college. So, and that's what really stuck out to you. And then you always look at the production.
For sure.
He said the production is the most important thing.
I think that's what it's all about. And what have you done for me lately? Once you get to the NFL, NFL, production is number one. Once your pay outweighs your play, you're out the door. So you got to be able to produce. And so no matter what level you're at, no matter who you're playing against, I can't control who they line me up against. I have nothing to do with the man that they roll out here, but I need to be able to produce against whoever I'm playing against, and whatever level I'm at. And as I was looking through, I mean, there were some numbers that popped out to me, and then you look into it a little bit more, and you see that these guys are built for it. They actually have the size, they actually have the speed, and that translates into this game, into what the NFL is looking for. You guys just finished mentioning the hybrid backers and then the hybrids between the linebackers and the safeties. And you look at a guy like Leighton McCarthy. I mean, his numbers were just ridiculous. 158 total tackles, 34 TFLs, 18 and a half sacks, just busy. So I like guys that are out there that they're producing and you're able to see. And he's got good size to him, 6'3", 220. Coming out of the combine, I'm 6'3". I think I was 235 coming out of college. So you're talking about a good size kid that's out there. He's being productive, he's moving around. Another guy that jumped off the pages to me was the D tackle.
Mustafa?
Yeah, Mustafa
Johnson.
Mustafa Johnson out there in Colorado, and what he was able to do and the numbers that he were able to put up. I think that those are the kind of things that the Vikings are looking for right now. You're talking about a Vikings team that needs an interior presence.
You hear that?
That needs an interior presence. You know, we
swear we're not doing this for us.
It's not about us.
It's not about the Vikings.
It's not about the Vikings. It's not. I promise it's not. But I can't help it but notice things like that. You know, you got a big fella that can be, like you said, stout on the inside, that can get things done, was very productive, made a lot of plays, and he played against good competition. He played against solid competition out there in the Pac-12. So I think it's a lot of opportunities for kids to come out here and show that they belong and that they can play.
I think the last thing I'm going to ask you is we're going to have a lot of people watching live from Farrington Field here in Fort Worth tomorrow, as these small school guys tomorrow, and then on Thursday the main group guys come out. They've never watched some of these drills before. What are some of the things, if they're seeing this drill for the first time, what are some of the things that you're looking for in any drill, whether it's competition, heart, does he got, some bark in his dog? What are some of the things that you're looking for in these competitions when they're going up against each other, mano a mano?
Oh, mano a mano for sure. Is he going to the back of the line, or is he trying to get to the front of the line? That's one of the first things that you see. Is he shying away from the competition? Or is he one of those guys where I got to be like, all right, come on, man, let somebody else go. Give somebody else a chance. So you catch that, and then it's like, well, when he does get out here, what is he doing? And is he making plays? Is he making things happen? Is he playing receiver? Is he running past everybody on the 9 route, even though he's running the 9? Well, shit, what are we going to do? Like, what is different about this kid? What is he producing? What is he doing? Are you all talk? Because a lot of people can come out here and they can talk with the best of them, and they can sound great and they can sound good, but at the end of the day, the eye in the sky never lies. And are you going to be able to come out here and actually back up your talk and back up what it is that you're saying you're capable of doing and that you're saying? And I think also you want to see what kind of shape, what kind of condition they're in, because even though we're only here at a combine type situation, so you still have time to get ready for the season. But how did you prepare for this combine? That speaks to the kind of person that you're dealing with, to the athlete that you're dealing with, to the character of that person. How serious are you taking this? How much does it matter to you? Did you come in here out of shape? Did you come in here huffing and puffing? Did you come in here fresh off the black and mild? Or are you in shape? I'm black and mild. Don't judge me.
The quarantine 15.
Hey, I put my time in already. I earned the right time.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, we are going to let you go. We're going to hear more from Eric for the rest of the week here. He's going to be at our live practices for Farrington Field. But thanks so much. Thank you for dropping in.
Thank you.
Mask on, everybody.
So we are going to continue here at the College Gridiron Showcase here, presented by the Brawl Network. As we switch over, we're going to start talking about special teams, Emily. We're talking about special teams. But first, I want to talk about our partners at Manscaped. Our partners at Manscaped have partnered with us to make sure that you don't gamble on shaving your balls the same way you like to gamble on football. Their Perfect Package 3.0 comes with a new and improved lawnmower performance briefs and a travel bag for you to use when you're done quarantining, and some other liquid formations like the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code BRAWL at manscaped.com. Again, that's 20% off and free shipping with the code BRAWL at manscaped.com. It's time to give your testes the absolute besties. here with Manscaped. We're going to bring back on Emily and one of our analysts, Daniel Kitchen. So Daniel Kitchen is going to come on. We're going to talk to him about some of the. Yeah, we're going to have Daniel come on. We're going to talk about some of the. That chair over there. I think that chair over there.
Well, actually,
No, I understand.
we're going to be having a couple of players come on to
Oh,
do
okay,
us on
excellent,
interviews.
excellent.
That's going to be the interview chair.
You can drop the mask, and we're going to bring. Okay, gotcha. So I'm going to step off. That's fine. I'm the problem.
We don't mean to be
As
pushy.
usual,
We don't want to push you
I'm the
out,
problem. I know when I'm not wanted. Now you need to move.
Yeah, no.
I need to go there, so you can come right here.
Right here.
Right here, yeah. You get the nice comfy chair. Okay. Switching a little bit of gears here now. We're going to talk about special teams.
Yes, we are.
It's one of our favorite things.
Well, it's also a very important part of the CPS. They like to focus on special.
They do, and they're one of the few things like that does that. That's what Mike Roman told us. You know, the special teams aspect is important. and
Absolutely.
it sets them apart. We're joined by one of our favorites.
Absolutely. It's not just because you're on the air.
No, it's not at all. Adam Bay, long snapper from Wisconsin. Welcome to our.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. So, what has this experience been like for you so far? I know you just got here. I think today, right?
Yes.
It's been hectic though.
No, it's been a great experience. Like you said, hectic but great, you know, and it's just being here just with all these guys, all here for the same goal. It's really humbling in a way. You know, you really want to perform well, you know, with your peers, but it's also just a way to showcase, you know, that's what CGS has been doing, and that's what I'm excited to be here for.
And long snapping is something that we've been looking at all day.
Yeah, we've been studying a lot more. I think I put more time into long snappers today than I have in my entire life.
That's awesome.
We're on it. So one of the things we want to ask you is long snapping has been a journey for you. And some guys, you know, we had talked to Blake Ferguson, who was with LSU and I was with the Dolphins. He started that journey young, and his brother Reed Ferguson with the Bills. They've had a long history with long snapping, but it's not always something that you find that early in life. So you played another position prior. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey to long snapping and where it's led you?
So yeah, I mean, my journey kind of starts early in life. In 8th grade, my youth team had a need for a long snapper, and I was just a giddy young kid that just raised his hand and said, "I'll do it, coach." And ever
So
since
it was a
then,
necessity. That's
Anything to get on the field.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what my dad always taught me from a young age: just do what you can to get out there. You know, have fun doing it. And it was something that I was willing to take on. And later on in high school, or later on in 8th grade, actually, I heard about my coach in Arizona called, his name's Ben Bernard.
Uh-huh.
He's put guys into the league and multiple guys in the college. And, you know, his whole mantra is, you know, grind now and work now so you can have something to pay for college later on in life. Set you up for success. And it was a grind. It was a 45-mile round or 90-mile round trip every night to Phoenix from where I was in Arizona. And it was a grind 4 nights a week, but it pays off. It was just something I had to kind of put my head down and embrace that kids at my high school were going to be like, oh, long snapping, you know. But
do you get that even in college? Do you guys? Because a lot of guys say, "Oh, well, I could do that." I'm sure you have
no.
teammates.
There's definitely a lot more respect at the next level, or at the college level. But I mean, in high school, it was something like you guys said. I played another position. I was defensive end,
Right.
and just played defense. I loved playing football. And when I got pulled up to varsity as a sophomore, I really started taking long snapping as just a serious niche of mine.
Okay.
You know, something that I really wanted to kind of embrace and make part of my life because I realized of how special I could be at it
Okay.
and where it could lead me in life, and especially that free college, that free education. I don't want to take that burden off my parents.
Oh.
And
And it led you here.
yeah, long story short, I'm here. But I mean, the journey was long. It was
Yeah.
There's a lot of long hours, a lot of coming home from school, doing your homework in the car with your parents, and
Yeah.
eating in the car, and going back to bed and wake up in the morning for practice and doing the whole school and practice all over again. It was a grind for
It
sure.
is. But you made it, and you're here, and
Yep.
now we're standing on the edge of.
The NFL
The
draft.
NFL draft.
It's only
Yeah,
a few
it's
months away. Only 11 long snappers have been drafted since 2001. And
Sir.
a lot of them are drafted in the last couple of rounds. What's your case for all the teams and all the scouts to be the 12th
The 12th
long
one.
snapper drafted since 2009?
You know, and that's the thing. It's a very humbling experience being a long snapper, trying to go out for the next level. You know, I mean, for me, it's just being the most well-rounded snapper I could be for the next level. It's shown that I could block.
That's why I loved Wisconsin. It's the pro style set for 4 years. Being able to block from being an 18-year-old in the Big Ten, line up against guys like Nick Bosa and Chase Young.
That's not scary at all. Right?
Yeah, but it's things like that I just want to prove why I've earned my stripes and why I feel like I have a shot at the next level. It's to prove that I'm the most well-rounded snapper, to prove that I could cover, prove that I could block, I could get the snap on the hip, I could get laces on, I could get the right spot on holds, and that's just what I want to come out here and do. And that's what I'm thankful for the CGS, providing me a platform to do that for.
Is there a long snapper that you, and this may be a weird question, but because a lot of players that play football, they have guys they watch in the league, guys they model their game after. Is it the same with long snappers? Is there somebody that you watch?
Well, for sure. I mean, like I said, my coach in Arizona, he had his first ever client really was Nick Sundberg, and he's been with the Washington Redskins for a while now. And so he was always at training. He's from Arizona. He was at the same high school we always trained at.
Okay.
So it was a very kind of personal, local connection. And growing up watching him, the first day I ever went to my coach's practice, he made me catch snaps from him, and it was almost knocked my teeth out. But it was ever since then, it was something that I kind of watched him, and I kind of watched the people just in the league. I don't care who it was. It was just taking notes of how they performed, how they held themselves, the work ethic, and that's really what I judge myself off of, and that's where I want to pride myself off to the next level.
Well, the team's going to be lucky to have you.
Well, absolutely. Playing in every game possible you could have at Wisconsin. I think that proves work ethic pretty well.
It does. And obviously this season was different given everything that went on in the Big Ten. Held out for a little bit, but you guys ended up playing games. With a short season like that and everything, how important is this kind of event, CGS, getting you in front of coaches, in front of scouts?
Oh, it's very important, and that's the thing. It's that's why I'm thankful to be here. It's just to give me an extra few days just to showcase myself, to show off my talents and what I'm able to do on the field, and hopefully that's enough to spark some attention. But I'm proud of my game film, even with the 7 games that we had, but I'm hoping that I can add a little bit more with this.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
us. You have a great
good.
rest of the night. Tell your dad, we say hi.
Yeah, I will.
Make sure you guys go out to dinner.
Yeah, we will.
Awesome. You can head out
Thank
whenever.
you.
Thank you
guys so much.
It's good to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
We're going to keep talking special teams. That was great.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that we wanted to talk to Adam.
Exactly. Adam was our first guest. And I wanted to ask you, because he's talking about the NFL. We didn't bring up any teams with him, but where do you think a guy like that could fit in on an NFL team?
I really don't think Adam Day would have to go far for perfect fit. I would want him to just go a little bit to the west, northwest, and go from Wisconsin to the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, the Vikings.
Their special teams unit needs almost wholesale rebuild. They actually cut their long snapper in December. And it's weird to say, a rookie long snapper can be a leader unit.
Yeah.
But he's got the leadership. He was the standout at Wisconsin. Yeah. So bring him in, and he's somebody who you could really help bring along a new kicker, a new punter, and help the Vikings.
And we see those guys come in. I mean, Blake Ferguson, I keep saying his name, but he comes in right away and makes an impact for the Dolphins.
Absolutely. So. And you don't think of the long snapper first, but you know what? A lot of things can go wrong.
They're smart guys.
It's like a lineman. If you don't know their names, it means they're doing their job pretty well.
I like that. The anonymous help. All right, well, let's move on from him and go down the list of. I'm gonna ask you questions about. We've got 5 other guys here that are special teams guys. We've got 3 kickers, 2 other long snap, or no, 2 kickers, 1 punter, and 2 other long snappers.
Well, one of those kickers can do a little bit of both.
Okay, well there we go. Well, let's start with another favorite of ours, and I'm gonna have you say the name because I can't. Oscar Dragicevic. Just talked about a mouthful, and we actually had the chance to catch up with him.
Yeah, we got to talk
right before this because he may or may not show up around here floating around, come on camera, but we'll see. But
busy with testing and getting everything all done.
But he had a shortened season as well. A guy who only had 4 games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but he's had a great career at Washington State, and he shared some of those memories about working with Mike Leach. And Mike Leach had a very special name for him.
Yeah, Punter.
So whenever Mike Leach needed Oscar, he would say, "Hey, Punter, come here."
You know what? Short and sweet.
Exactly.
If you had told me any coach did that, Mike Leach would probably be one of the first ones I guessed.
And his numbers at Washington State, you were the numbers guy. What did that look like?
Well, over a 45-yard average over his career, 4 years. He broke the Washington State punting record for average in a season.
Right.
And then he made it his goal to do it again as a senior, and he did by almost a full yard.
Yeah,
so
incredible.
Over 45 yards, he has been ranked 3rd, 6th, 7th, and 16th.
And he'd be the first one to tell us that. And that's one of the things we were hoping to ask him is, who's the best special teams unit in the nation? And he would have said Washington State. And that would have been over Miami, who had an incredible special teams unit this year. So
there's a lot of special groups, but you get a punter who's always in the top 20 in punting. It's really hard not to put them on the list.
And he's out here. The last thing he told us is he's trying to outdo his dad in Google rankings. His dad is a famous football, American soccer player. And every time you Google Oscar's name, his dad comes up first. So we're out here trying to push him to the top of those Google
Absolutely.
rankings.
Well, if he can get drafted, latch on with an NFL team, he get a couple of years booting all 50 yards. You know what? I think that'll put him a little bit higher on the rankings than his dad.
Where do you think, what NFL team would be smart to pick him up? Where do you think he might land?
Well, being from Western PA myself, I think a good fit would be the Pittsburgh Steelers because they already cut their current punter Jordan Berry once this season, brought him back because the replacement wasn't doing so well. But they like to get boomers. They like to get guys from games like this.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think 45 yards a punt over 4 years.
That may do it.
I consider that a boomer. I consider that a pretty powerful kicker.
I like it. And he's not only good at that, he's a student of the game. One of the things we were talking about was hang time in different weather conditions. So that would fit in nicely with the Steelers. A little bit cold out there.
Heinz Field not known to be the most welcoming environment for kickers and special teams.
And he pays attention to that. So he'd be a good fit there. All right, let's move down from punter to kicker. And the first guy I have on here is Michael Brown. Easy name, didn't have to stumble over pronunciation.
There's nothing.
Great, love that about him. Love it. USC kicker. Didn't get any time this year.
Well, he was beat out for this job by Parker Lewis. And unfortunately, when he was getting momentum going in 2017, his injury in the second game knocked him out, and he just couldn't get back in the line.
It was unfortunate. And then you have the short season in the Pac-12. I think they had 6 games, so he wouldn't have even had that much film anyways. So with somebody like that who, early on you saw some stuff, not so much now, and then he's here at the showcase, what kind of team do you think would be looking at him?
Well, I think a hometown connection would help here because he's from Temecula, California. Yeah. He played at USC, which is in LA. The Chargers,
I'm thinking you're going to go SoCal. Yeah.
The Chargers need a kicker. Michael Badgley missed 9 field goals this season. They can use an improvement. And the last kicker they had for more than a couple seasons was Nick Novak, another kid who was from San Diego, right down the road. So
we could be seeing him don some baby blue. That's going to be tough, taking on those colors, being a USC guy.
Well, also with the limited resume, you can say, well, I only started about 9 games in my college career. Yeah. The injuries help make a case and say I deserve a second look. But if he can convince them, I think the Chargers are a great fit, and they definitely should have a kicker opening this year.
All right, let's move on down the list. Chris Nagar. Did I get it?
Chris Nagar.
Nagar, we said it right. Okay, that's another one we're struggling with. For some reason, the special teams names are more difficult than usual this year. So.
Yeah, I had to go to the pronunciation guide for half of these names.
Yes, he did. Place kicker from SMU, but a transfer from Texas.
Yes, didn't play for 3 seasons at Texas. Got some work as a punter his last year.
He was in the building.
And then he went to SMU and kicked and punted.
Yeah,
he was the primary for both.
That's an incredible skill to just even put on the resume for a scout looking at you. Like, hey, you could stick me here. I could do this.
Well, not only was he top 20 nationally in points this year, but he made the Groza semifinal list, and he made the Ray Guy watch list.
Both watch lists for special teams. That's great.
Yeah, that's versatility right there.
That is versatility. That is the definition. All right, so where is a versatile player like that going to end up?
Somewhere that needs help or competition at both positions. I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns because Jamie Gillen, bottom 10 in the average in the NFL in punting average. Cody Parkey can't make a kick, can't be trusted to make a kick above 50 yards. He hasn't attempted one this year. So bringing in Nagar would allow both players to be pushed.
Okay. And I like that we also wrote Jets because they need pretty much everything.
Yes,
so,
the Jets also need basically.
Just keep in mind that Jets are also on our radar. Like, we're going to say one team, but you could just always add and the Jets.
Yeah, so. Basically
Browns and the Jets. All right, let's finish out here with the last 2 long snappers. We heard a little bit about what it's like to be a long snapper from Adam. These 2 guys, we're interested in catching up with them. First, we've got Scott Meyer, Vanderbilt
by way of Alabama. His only season as the primary long snapper with either school, they won the national championship.
Well, okay, that's impressive.
But then he only played 1 game the following year, ended up playing 20 games the last 2 years of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and the biggest thing out of Vanderbilt this year, as we know, is Sarah Fuller in the story with the place kicking, which he actually was a part of, which I'd be interested to ask him about what that was like.
Being a part of the moment and an anonymous part, but still, you know what? Again, long snappers doing their job, you don't know their name.
It's true. Well, and he had 8 games to hang his hat on this year. Where do you see Scott Meyer going in the NFL? Which team would pick him up?
I think a team that has an opening soon for a long snapper, but not right now. Someone that can sit him on the practice squad, give him a year as an understudy before taking over. And for me, Carolina stands out as a fit. JJ Jansen is a little bit older. He's been their long snapper for a long time, but eventually the career will have to come to an end. Getting a guy like Scott Meyer in on the practice squad to learn.
I like that.
That your replacement's right there. You don't have to spend a pick. You don't have to look for a signing. Makes it a lot simpler.
Okay, so looking at the Panthers, or what we like to call a retirement team, because the guys are ready to age out. But the funny thing about these special teams guys is they could play forever sometimes. So
a lot of long snappers in doing this research, 10 years with a team, 12 years with a team. There's a guy who's 39 years old, long snapping, and about his 50th season.
And we're going to talk about him next.
Yes, we are.
Good segue there. That was actually impressive because our last guy on the list, Colton
Mangus.
I can never say it. He's my pronunciation guy. Colton Mangus. I don't ever want to say their name wrong. So he is Alcorn State.
Yes.
Has not played a game yet because their season was pushed to spring.
It will be starting next month.
Exactly. So he will ostensibly get 6 games if he goes back. So we have no idea, right?
That'd be an interesting question for him. What's it like doing all these pre-draft process events before you even play your senior season?
It's definitely interesting. And he's of note, he was a wrestler.
Yes, a 14-year wrestler who is a 3-time Alaska state champion, 1-time Kansas state champion, 1-time European champion, 4-time All-American, 4-time place winner as an amateur wrestler.
Like probably the most interesting long snapper I've ever encountered. I mean, he's done so many things. Talk about we said versatility when we're talking about the other guy, but that's versatile.
No offense to the guys from Alabama, you do not have the championship pedigree of Colton Mangus. Okay?
Colton Mangus is that guy.
This kid's already won 20 championships, and he hasn't even become drafted.
And hit him with the stats, height, and weight. That's what I'm interested in.
6'5",
250. He's huge. So, given how big he is at a long snapper, where is he going to fall in the NFL? Because they like guys like this.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
LP Ladicor is 39 years old, stands 6'5", and plays 260. He is a perfect physical, measurable matchup to Colton Mangus. And we actually got a little bit of inside information when we were doing our notes before this. Tucker Addington, who is here with the CGS as a free agent from Sam Houston State, a long snapper, by the way, said when we were talking about Mangus, this kid looks like he should be playing for the Cowboys at this position.
So he's like a carbon copy of the guy that they would want. And y'all know the Cowboys, they like to stick with what they know. So.
Yeah. Why not? Why make a change? You've got this guy right here. He stands. He could probably play on the line if
he can throw him in anywhere, honestly. So that is our special teams breakdown. Great job. We were going to have Oscar. He's not quite going to make it. But instead, let me toss. Do you want to toss the bridge?
Absolutely. We've got Michael Lillibridge coming up here.
Lillibridge, come in and talk to us about the people that you like in this CGS showcase. Getting out of here is like a maze.
Here at the College Gridiron Showcase, brought to you by presenting sponsor, the Brawl Network. Mike Shoddy here with Mark Lillibridge, president of the Brawl Network, newly installed. Came out about the same time I did as the director of operations for the site. And when this guy gives you a call and says he wants to give you a job, don't answer. No, I'm kidding. And,
very true.
Mark, I've known you for a long time, and I've known you as a media guy. I've been your editor. That's an adventure. I've been your employee, which is an adventure. I've been your friend, which has been maybe the biggest adventure of them all.
Yes.
So, but I've known you as a media guy, as a scout. You've been a player personnel guy in the NFL. And you've been a player in the NFL.
Sure.
So you have just about every step of this process down pat, and you're very excited to partner with CGS this season.
Yeah, I think it's a great chance for a lot of these guys, especially going on with the COVID situation. What we saw last year is that we saw so many guys that didn't get pro days. We saw so many guys that didn't get an opportunity to showcase what they had. And you have so many guys with getting 6 years of eligibility, guys having a chance to go back to school. You don't have the same access that we had before. And that's what I think that this showcase does. It gives guys an opportunity that wouldn't have it any other way with the cancellation of the NFLPA game, with the cancellation of the East-West game. Those are all opportunities for scouts to introduce themselves to players introduce themselves to scouts, and to then help themselves and put on the resume to go to the next level. This is it. I mean, this is really it. You got this in the Senior Bowl. So I think it's a huge opportunity for guys, and that's why I'm excited that the Brawl Network can be a part of it, because it is our content, it is what people are going to see. And also then I just love the fact that as a guy that was a free agent myself in the NFL, it gives guys like myself an opportunity and a platform to showcase what they can do, and hopefully they can live the dream that I did.
And it does mean something, because I'm OG draft Twitter. Like a lot of the kids who are coming up now, and I love them, but they don't understand when I was walking uphill both ways in my Twitter shoes back when my 10,000 followers was something big. The idea of draft stock is probably the most underrated but also misunderstood thing about the draft, because the media does not create or break these guys. They're usually just wrong on these guys.
Sure.
But that being said, for the guys who are CGS prospects, their agents and the scouts that are looking at them are continually telling us that this is an important part of the process, that getting their name, getting their stats, getting their profile out there is why they're here. And whether that happens on the field in front of those scouts, or it happens because their stats got retweeted from a link that CGS put out, they're getting as much of a push as they've gotten, and maybe as much as push as they're going to get right before the draft. So talk to me a little bit about that, coming from the team aspect. I get that you're not scouting via Twitter, but at the same time, this look might be their look.
Well, I think that's the biggest part of this, and I think part of it is when you're a scout. So you're the Southwest scout. So you're working for the Chicago Bears. You're the Southwest scout. You're given Arizona, California, New Mexico. Well, a lot of those teams, a lot of these players here never played this year. They never got an opportunity. So now you're sitting there going, okay, I'm a scout. I have to report to my boss about 20 players that I did not get a chance to see in the last. I haven't seen them since 2019. Maybe that guy's completely changed, right? That his body type has changed. Maybe there's just something about him. Maybe he's grown up. Maybe there were some issues that he had. So I think for an opportunity for these guys to come here, so you see a guy on Twitter, you have to know every player too, right? So you're sitting there going, okay, well, this guy transferred. This guy was, because of all the easy transfer portal rules now and everything else, you see a name on Twitter, and you see some people talking about a guy. Well, now you want to go do your research on this player. You come here, though, it's all kind of encapsulated, and it's easy because the number one thing that the showcase will provide is the interview process. All right, as a former scout, I'm going to tell you, there's nothing but I can watch a film and tell you if a guy's got quick feet. I can tell you if a guy's got flexibility. I can tell you if he's got speed. I can see all that stuff. What I don't know is I don't know if he's got the heart, and I don't know if it means something to him. When I can sit across from a table and talk to a guy and understand, find out, I can tell if the guy's BSing me or not, or if he's real. Does this game mean something to him? Can I count on him? Can I count on that star player? Will he go cover a kickoff for me? Will he go? Will he be the guy that I can count on to return a punt, to make a big play for me in a situation? Because I only get 45 guys that can dress on a Sunday. I need to know if I can count on this guy to step up and earn that roster spot. So I think this is the huge deal. I think Wednesday when these teams, that's why these 119 scouts, confirmed scouts are here, when they get a chance to interview these players, that's where those guys that are prepared. You brought up David Moore from Central Michigan. He gets a chance to tell his story, to give it his side of it. And I think people are going to come off impressed with him, right? So if that all of a sudden then checks the box, if he fills the other physical qualities, but he checks that interview box, that might be the difference between him getting a shot in the NFL or not getting a shot. And so I think that's why this is a huge opportunity for so many players. And I think it's a big deal. And I think we'll see. This will be. You had Mike Rittman on earlier, who's the director of player personnel for this showcase. This will be. I've said it multiple. I'll put it on air, whatever else. We'll see 5 to 10. We'll see 5 to 10 guys drafted out of this, because there were so many players here that were scheduled to go to the NFLPA game, were scheduled to go to the East-West game, that would have probably gotten drafted out of that, but there's no other. They're canceled, so they are able to come here, and so that you're getting that stock that raises the level of the talent that's here, and I think we're going to see a lot of really good players here this week.
So we talked a lot about the scouting aspect, and you've got that in your background, but CGS.
Yep.
What are some of the things going through your mind, some of the ways that you prepare him and make sure that this is a successful event for him?
Yeah, well, I think because you're not running a 40, because you're not doing the on the field, the testing part of it, you want them to be in shape, right? I think Aaron said the same thing earlier. You want to see if a guy's in shape because does it mean something to him, right? Especially if you haven't played, right? We talked to so many of these guys that have been coming through here that are getting prepared for this. They didn't have a senior year. They didn't have it. They didn't play in 2020. Well, so what have they been doing, right? If you're sitting on the couch or if you're eating Twinkies and you're not prepared, this is coming up, you're doing this. Well, you better be getting in shape to get in shape, right? And so I think that would be the number one thing I would tell the guys, to make sure you get in there. You can run every drill, jump to the front of the line, but at the same point, be prepared for the Wonderlic test, which is a phenomenal deal that they have the access to that. But then the interview process, again, I'll repeat it over and over again. When I was an agent, even as a scout, there are players that were impressed me when I met them, that then all of a sudden now, because we're human, it's human nature. If I like a guy and he impresses me, well, now I'm going to root for him. I'm going to stand up for him in a draft room. If it's between him and another guy, and I know this guy is a good human being, I know this guy's going to give me a little bit extra, I'm going to fight for him in a draft room. And I'm going to say, hey, that guy's got a different quality. He fits our personality. He fits our culture. It's the quote unquote # trust the process. He fits that, that synergy that we're trying to build here. So you're going to take that. So that's where I think a lot of these guys can really change it. And that's one of the things I would stress as an agent. I would say, hey, you know what? Let your personality come out, but let them know how much football means to you. Now, again, if you represent a guy that's a turd, I mean, I guess you can't really, you can polish it as much as you can, but it's still going to end up being, he's not that guy. But most of the time, these guys are here. They're paying their way. They're working hard. They're here because it means something to them. So I think I appreciate every one of them being here.
So let's take off we've had the scout hat on, we've had the agent hat on. Let's go to either, make a pick. You can either say, you used to be in the player personnel department or media analyst department. Give us some names. Give us some guys that you're excited to see this week at CGS.
I think so. Tomorrow is getting the small school aspect of it. I love that part of it. I think that's just such a cool aspect for these guys because it separates them from the talent level. And I say it this way. I'm not knocking that. I think so often though we get so caught up with Alabamas and the LSUs and the USCs and the Notre Dames, Clemsons. And so those are guys we see all the time, right? They're on the national TV scale and whatever else. As a scout, you have to find every player and you see it. Like you and I are both members of the Pro Football Writers Association. And, I voted for a small school guy, Jeremy Chin, Division II or FCS Southern Illinois safety last year. And nobody really talked about him going into his senior year. He played some corner, he played some safety, he played some hybrid linebacker. I voted for him for Defensive Player of the Year this year, right? Rookie. And so you have to be able to know those players, right? So you have to be able to. We're talking about guys from Dakota State University. We're talking about guys from Howard Payne University. If you can play, scouts will find you because there's going to be that word of mouth. But you know what? There's also going to be those Twitter scouts. There's going to be somebody that's talking about this guy. So you got to make sure you know your research. So one of the guys for tomorrow that I really like a lot, and I think is going to surprise some people, is Donnie Corley. He's out of Texas Southern University, big receiver. Now he had some issues at Michigan State, and so that's what ended up getting into Texas Southern. And again, I'm a big second chance guy. People have given me a lot of second chances in my life, thank God. But he's one of those guys that has the size, has the speed, has the ball awareness. He's got to work on some route running. But when you see him as a physical presence guy, he's going to be a difference. Like he will stand out tomorrow compared to all the other guys out there. You will say, okay, that guy looks like what an NFL receiver should look like. So I think I think he's a big time guy. Now when we get into Thursday, as we get into the on the field stuff, I think the name here, a lot of people are, I know you're a fan of him, Zach Smith, quarterback at Tulsa. I think he fits the height, the arm strength. He has all the things that you want in the measurables that you want as an NFL quarterback. My only concern with him would be, and this would be something I'd ask him, is if I was a scout, is his completion percentage. I like my quarterbacks to have 60% or above. That's been historically the average range that a solid quarterback in the NFL has. He's below that 58 career percentage completions. So I'd like to know about that a little bit. I had a little bit of turnover issues in his career at Tulsa. I know some of that is to the offense, but good right-handed thrower. I like him a lot.
And I think some of that is a good example of, not just second chances, but sometimes correcting mistakes because, and I don't know if I wouldn't ask Zach Smith if it's a mistake that he went to Tulsa, but there were moments at Baylor when he was a young player where in that offense, he looked like a potential Heisman Trophy winner down the line. He outdueled Heisman Trophy winners when he was a young player at Baylor. And I think Tulsa was a poor choice, and maybe he loves Tulsa. Maybe he will always be a Tulsa, golden fan for the rest of his life. But the Baylor offense was working for him, and obviously he wanted to leave Baylor for lots of okay reasons.
Sure.
But it probably could have found a better offense for him.
You know what? And I think though part of it is maybe if you want to stay closer to home or you want to be,
right.
It's the system, school wants you, right? You can walk in the door. And he had success at Tulsa. I mean, it's not like we're talking about it, right? I mean, so he's an NFL prospect. He's probably will be a drafted quarterback, would be my guess. So again, but those are questions that he has to answer, and those are questions that he can answer here. That's why the interview process is going to be huge for him. And I think it's going to give, I think a lot of these scouts that didn't get a chance to talk to him will get a chance to talk to him and ask those questions. And I think that will definitely help his case.
And I'm going to go throw you a curveball because there's another player just like that, Tariq Black out of Michigan. You mentioned a wide receiver from Michigan State. I'll give you a wide receiver from Michigan.
Yep.
Transferred to Texas thinking he was going to have a big role and didn't have a big role. And so left a good system in Michigan. Michigan then struggled in his absence, but at the same time did not have the sort of chances he had. And CGS is almost his ability to make up for that. Again, I don't want to call it a mistake, but maybe a misstep in his football to the draft process.
Well, and I think that's the one thing that's great about this, Shotty, and I think that's a great point is when you everything hindsight 2020, right? I mean, when you make a choice, especially 19, 20, 21 years old, you're making these moves because you think, okay, hey, right now I'm going to be the guy. Or I'm going to, I'm at Michigan. I'm already the guy at Michigan. Why won't I be the guy at Michigan or Texas State, whatever, Texas Tech or Notre Dame or whatever else. And so I think that you see that quite a bit. And this transfer portal has changed a lot of things for a lot of players. You get people to be talking to you. You got a boy that tells you, hey, man, you should transfer down here. You really like it. You're going to fit in with us. We got a coach, maybe a former coach that that's now on that staff. And things. The grass isn't always greener. And I think that's where we're starting to see a lot in NCAA right now. And I think that's where we're going to see that next. This is going to be an issue for the next 3 or 4 years, especially with COVID and NCAA giving guys extra years and things like that. You're seeing, there's a lot of really good players that are transferring from good programs to other good programs because they can.
And it's where the CGS format makes a lot of sense because, maybe a player did struggle with the installing a offense that they weren't familiar with or a defense they weren't familiar with. And this is literally X receiver runs a slant.
Yep.
Do this stunt, blitz this player.
Sure.
And if you can't do that, then you probably don't belong in the NFL. But at the same time, this gives you a shot in an OTA style format where you can let your best attributes shine without having to worry about, does this defense fit me?
Sure.
You go to a game like the East-West Shrine game and, I got a coach who's running the 3-4 and I'm not a fit for the 3-4.
Yeah, right.
So I'd rather just, this guy blitzes.
Right. Well, and I think that's part of the thing where without a combine and without a lot of the things, it's apples for apples, right? You can literally line up every receiver is going to run the same route, and every receiver is going to have to catch the ball. They're going to run a gauntlet. They're going to do all these same things. So they're going to be, you can tell who's going to stand out, who's been working, who has the proper techniques or whatever drill they're doing. So I think you're right. I think that's a big deal for that. And the quarterbacks is going to be huge, right? You can measure who's got a quick release, who's got the arm strength, who can hit, who's got touch on the out route. So I definitely think you're 100% correct.
And we'll be talking all week because we mentioned Zach Smith. I know that Emily's got a bunch of quarterbacks she likes. I've got more quarterbacks in this roster that I like. But you were a linebacker. And you were a bad man at linebacker. So give me some players on the defensive side of the ball. At least one player on the defensive side of the ball that you're watching.
I will. I'm gonna mention though. I'm gonna go back this offensively. Ball State's got a running back named Caleb Huntley. Okay, right. And Caleb Huntley is my guy. I think he's gonna be. My call is I think he's the highest drafted player out of this. There's some issues maybe with his blitz pick up a little bit. There is a play, and I recommend this if you're watching this, if you're a draft pick and you want to watch this. There's a play they're playing Eastern Michigan where there's an interception and it should have been a touchdown. Okay? And everybody made a big deal about DK Metcalf this year chasing down an interception and stopping Buda Baker for the touchdown. Right. So this same thing happens. Caleb Huntley is in the game. There should have been a pick six touchdown. And he literally comes out of nowhere. It's not on the screen. He tracks him down, makes a tackle. If I could find that out of my running back, That's what I want. I want that guy on my team. Okay. Those are the players here. That's the players. These guys aren't Senior Bowl players. These guys aren't this is not the top. There's no third round guy, first, second round guy probably in this showcase, right? These are your bottom of half roster type guys. So they have to have another quality, right? So when you can make a play for like that for me, effort and be good on special teams, you can win for me. And so that's a guy like that I love.
Just as Aaron said earlier, those are the kind of guys that you might draft as a bottom of the roster guy, but become top of the roster guys awfully quickly because we've had all pros come out of this game.
Yeah, no question about it. And you're going to have some free agents come out of here, but I think, like I said, I think there's going to be some really good drafted players out of here. There's a guy, so my sleeper, and we talk about, we'll go switch to the defensive side of the ball. There is a sleeper guy named Michael Boykin. Okay, he's out of North Alabama, started at Louisville, been at 4 colleges, bounced around quite a bit. He is going to make every scout drool when they do his height, weight, arms, and they just see his body type. He is the first guy you want off the bus. That is one of those guys where you sit and say, okay, he is a piece of clay. This guy was a stud high school player, just has kind of bounced around, right? Hasn't found a home. Right. NFL guys love this. NFL coaches love these kind of guys. NFL scouts love these kind of guys because they know nobody's really talking about him. He's kind of flying under the radar. If we can just get him in and get him coached up, get him let him eat on our program and do these kind of things that we want to do, we might have the potential. Talent-wise, body-wise, athletic-wise, he's as good as we're going to see here. And so that's a guy that I would definitely tell somebody to check out, Michael Boykin, North Alabama. And then, I'm a big fan of the corners. I think this is a really stacked corner class. I really like Jason Pinnock from University of Pittsburgh. I think he'll have a really good weekend. Antonio Phillips, Ball State, he just had a pick 6 in their bowl game, and I think he's just a guy that's a playmaker, and he's going to be able to show some ball skills out here and quick feet. That's what I look for in DBs. The big drill for me is DBs, if they can backpedal and flip their hips down the line. That's a big one for me, and both those two players can be able to do that, so it should be really fun to be able to watch them compete against some of these good receivers and also compete against themselves and in the other corners here.
All right, last question. Yep. You're going to be with us all week here at the College Gridiron Showcase. So look right in the camera and tell people why they should tune in for the rest of the week here on the Brawl Network.
Well, there's nothing else going on, right? I mean, you can sit here. You're sitting here on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, Thursday. You could be watching soap operas. You might have Jeopardy, right? But no Alex Trebek, so it's really not. It's better to tune in to Michael Shoddy because you're sans Alex Trebek. And this is the football. If you want to know the next players that will fill out the roster for the teams that you want to watch, this is where you find them. And then you can tell your buddies when you're sitting at the bar, when you're sitting at dinner party, wherever at, you can say, I knew that guy before he became a star because I studied up and did my homework and I watched the Brawl Network at the College Gridiron Showcase. So I knew these guys. And so when you're sitting around the cooler and you're sitting there talking draft, when the draft comes up and you start name dropping some guy from North Alabama and your buddy's like, are you kidding me? And then that guy gets drafted, you can sit and go, this is why I'm the man. This is why I'm the man. So you're welcome, by the way.
Thank you so much for watching our College Gridiron Showcase preview here on the Brawl Network. For Mark Lillibridge, for Emily Van Buskirk, for Daniel, for Mitch, for everyone else who joined us, Aaron Henderson, join us on the podcast, and for all of you, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow at the field.